Hey everyone, I'm Maria Gonzalez, and welcome to Leading with a Purpose. Today, we're going to be covering four essential leadership areas: motivation, communication, teams, and inclusion. I'll share what actually works based on research and real experiences. On the agenda, so here's our roadmap. We will look at which motivation theories fits my values, a powerful lesson from a poor and excellent leadership communication, and how my natural team role has evolved, and why inclusive leadership is a non negotiable. Motivation. Let's start with this. The theory that resonates the most with my values is the equity theory. The idea that people constantly compare what they put into what they get out. If I feel like I'm working twice as hard as a colleague for the same recognition, then my motivation dies fast. I also believe in intrinsic rewards, autonomy, mastery, and purpose. And so, why do these fit me? Because I personally have seen how hidden imbalances, like unequal project assignments, quietly destroy team morale. Fairness isn't just nice. Sorry about that. So, applying equity theory as a leader. So, how do I do this? There are three concrete actions. First, audit team week workloads regularly, not just once a year, but every sprint or project cycle. Second, be transparent about pay, project assignments, and credit. So, no secret back channel decisions. Third, address perceived inequities quickly. Even small ones, like someone not being invited to a key meeting, can be very disruptive. Again, um, when you pair fairness with intrinsic motivators, growth opportunities, and real choice in how work gets done, and meaningful feedback. Leadership communication. Here's a poor example. Let's talk about this. So, I've experienced this where a manager once sent me a detailed, critical feedback only via email late at night. No context, no face to face conversation, and no solution offered. The result? I was confused, to say the least, disengaged, and a team that became the, the team just became defensive instead of improving. People started hoarding information just to avoid being the next target. So, what made this so ineffective, um, and why it failed? First, timing. Late night emails feel like an ambush, not coaching. Second, medium mismatch. Complex, emotionally charged feedback should rarely be in writing without a verbal conversation first. Talk to me. Let me know what I did wrong so then we can come up with a solution. Third, no opportunity for dialogue. The criticism just became a monologue. It's like I had nothing to say to him other than that I'm sorry. But I was so attacked and so hurt by his actions that nothing was resolved really, except hurting my ego and my feelings. And finally, the manager lacked I statements or specific behavior feedback. Instead of when the report was late, I felt concerned. It was a it was vague and it was personal, a trust killer for me. So now let's contrast that with an excellent leader that I worked with. So after I missed a deadline, this team lead stayed calm, curious, and direct. And he said, "Here's what I saw. What happened from your view?" There was no blame and there was no guessing. They were they were co-created to fix it together. There was no assigning fault, but sharing accountability. And that single conversation turned a mistake into a process improvement. What strategies? Again, sorry about that. So here's some strategies that work. Active listening without interrupting. The leader let me finish my every thought, facts first, then feelings, and then they describe the missed deadlines, then shared the impact to make me see why this was actually a big deal. A private correction, and then there's public praise. I was coached in private, not shamed in a meeting, which was, I appreciated that. And then we just decided to do regular 15-minute weekly one-on-ones. So feedback it just never piled up. So small, consistent beats, big dramatic conversations every single time. So leading teams, this is my natural role. So shifting now to leading teams. My natural role has always been a harmonizer plus an implementer. I keep the peace, I clarify the task, and I make sure to the follow through happens. Early in my career, that meant that I avoided conflict for way too long. It it I'd let small tensions simmer because I just didn't want to upset anyone, and that harmed trust more than it helped harmony. Because by the time it came out, it was just this big blow up you know of concerns. Evolution with leadership awareness. So as I've developed leadership awareness, I've evolved. Now I address tension early but respectfully. I've shifted from everyone must agree to a mindset of disagree and commit, where we debate openly, then align behind a decision, even if it wasn't my preference. The biggest lesson here is that trust is built through reliability, not just likability. You can be warm, but you don't have to, but if you don't deliver, then there's no trust. So here are some strategies that help teams succeed. Um, I've actually used these myself. First, team charter, written rules, norms, and decision rules before conflict happens. Second, a regular process check, asking, are we working well together right now? Is everything okay? How can I support you? Third, clear decision ownership using the DACI model: driver, approver, contributor, informed. No more everyone owns it, so nobody owns it type mentality. And finally, celebrate the small wins while learning from the failures openly, not hiding mistakes as a postmortem that nobody else reads. Diversity and inclusion. Now, let's talk about inclusive leadership. I'm going to be very direct. It is essential, not optional. Without inclusion, you get turnover, groupthink, and blind spots. Teams that all think the same way and miss obvious risks. So, with inclusion, you get better decisions, more innovation, and a higher retention. So, here's a metaphor that I love actually. Diversity is being invited to the party, inclusion is being asked to dance. Many organizations nail the invitation but forget the dance floor. So, here are some steps that leaders should take. Um, Step number one, run a participation audit. Who speaks in the meetings? Who gets interrupted? Who never speaks at all? Step number two, use surveys and threads within your company so quieter voices have time to respond without being talked over. Step number three, act on feedback, visibility within 2 weeks. Not, oh, we'll look into it, but you said X and here's why, we're changing that. So, without visible action, inclusion feels like a theater and fake. Here's an example um, of making a person feel valued at a meeting and included. Um, so, quiet team members' ideas get dismissed in meetings, and it just happens all the time. An inclusive leader says, Maria, you raised that point earlier, so let me bring it back. Then, after the meeting, they credit the person in writing, an email, or through their office thread by saying, hey, you know what? Maria had a great idea today. Kudos to her. So the result of that is that trust increases and that person contributes again. So it's a small move, but a huge ripple effect. So let's put this all together. Motivation. Intrinsic rewards drive lasting engagement. Fairness is the foundation. Communication. Context plus empathy plus action. No more late night critique emails. Teams. My role evolved from a doer to an integrator, and yours can too. And then inclusion, which is a small, consistent leader moves that matter, that make more of an impact than some big DEI training. So, in a nutshell, here's my question for you, and I want you to actually think about it. If you could only improve one of these four motivation, communication, team roles, or inclusion, which would create the biggest ripple effect in your team and why? Thank you so much for watching. I am Maria Gonzalez, and this was Lead with a Purpose.